Hello, sir.
Yeah. Good morning. Uh, there's a lot of feedback on the call, so your voice is being like it's echoing. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We'll look into it.
So let me know when we can, when I can start. Like so, yeah, that will help me.
Yes, sir. We are working on the feedback which is there. I'll get back to you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Sir, is the feedback okay?
Yes, feedback is much better. Yeah.
Sir, is it okay now?
Yeah, this is perfect. Yep. So let me know so we can start accordingly. Yeah.
Yes, sir, we'll start now. Uh, Good morning, esteemed faculty, esteemed guest speakers, and students. I am Dr. Padmakar Bhaviskar, the coordinator startup activity and the coordinator for the impact lecture sessions. On behalf of the institution's Innovation Council, MGM Dental College and Hospital, Raigad District, Maharashtra, code number 14022 with IIC code number ID 1C202116006. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this session. As said by Richard Barson, a big business starts small. This Impact Lecture Series will be held in two sessions, and I welcome you today for the first session. Today we have with us for the first lecture on entrepreneurship as a career opportunity. The speaker for the same, Mr. Sagar Chandni. I'll introduce the speaker. I'll introduce the speaker and then, sir, you can begin your session.
Sure, sure. Yep.
Sagar Chandni, sir, has 8+ years of experience in understanding the needs of customers, developing business through networking and serving customers with integrity. Sagar has conducted workshops for Indian Business Group, Chamber of Commerce, Raigad, Chamber of Commerce, IIT Mumbai, Ruia College, Bombay School of Pharmacy, Xavier's Institute of Communication, PMDI Dubai, and many more reputed professional institutions. Mr. Sagar has founded his travel company in partnership with Akbar Travels and served more than 200+ clients seamlessly. Mr. Sagar has also contributed with one of the well-known companies, Amber Weather, in Beijing, China, to increase their customer base in European and Asian countries and help them gain 20,000+ customers globally. He has witnessed India's co-working revolution by contributing with one of the top co-working space companies, 91 Springboard, to develop business and community of 100+ organizations. Mr. Sagar has coached one of the influencers to plan a purpose-driven pop-up for 50+ remote workers in Bali, Indonesia. He co-leads the Indian Business Group Chamber of Commerce startup vertical to help new businesses grow their social and intellectual capital in the city. Currently, he is associated with CIBA, Center for Incubation and Business Acceleration, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, Technology Business Incubator, to support early stage startups in the nation. It is my great pleasure, sir, to invite you for this session. I request you to kindly grace the occasion and commence the session.
Sure. Thank you so much. I hope I am audible and loud and clear. If you could share that. Yeah, I am hoping everyone is able to hear me clearly, right? Okay. So first of all, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for giving me this, wonderful opportunity to interact with, interact and try to share insights on why and how entrepreneurship is important. And it is again, it is also an career opportunity, because gone are the days, in from a I do understand that here, you are in a specific domain or a field, but with the developments happening in the country, right? Everyone wants to do something of their own. So today, we'll just share few things, certain insights, on what is it that uh, we end up thinking, as we grow, because at the end of the day we all have one final goal, right? We all want to become successful, we all want to earn, healthy, earn a living, we want to become healthy, wealthy and wise every day, right? But in today's scenario, we have to think about how we can become job creators, right? So in a very very generic, in a very very simple terms, people who are uh, looking for jobs in, say, corporates, or for that matter anywhere, right? Any corporate organization, right? The positions are limited, right? So and people, once they are in the particular position, right, they will stick to that position for a very good number of time, right? So we have to start thinking in a way where how can we become job creators, right? And my goal here in today's session is to share certain insights or spread awareness around why it is important, uh, to think about entrepreneurship. uh, it's I mean, when we started, like post independence, right? We when our when there was a major disruption that happened, post independence, right? A lot of our maybe parents or grandparents, I'm sure, uh, would do something of their own, or might would be trying to sell something, or what they for them, a lot of maybe our maybe our grandparents or a lot of people that we know who belong to that generation, they had no choice. Okay, so in their scenario they had to, it was necessity for them. So they were a lot of them were necessity entrepreneurs, right? And today, when we see the likes of Shark Tank, or when we see a lot of new products or new startup ideas, or the new startups, the news that we hear about all the new startups, all of them are opportunistic entrepreneurs, or they are finding, or they're trying to fill a gap, right? See, at the end of the day, right, entrepreneurship, or for that matter startup, is is our understanding uh, of filling the demand and the supply gap. Even in the medical field, even in your domain, there are a lot of gaps, right? So there are a lot of gaps that we can think, and we can try to fill those gaps. And that's how, obviously, we try to build up a model or a system, and that helps us become a better entrepreneur, right? Before I share my presentation, I wanted to share a video that I always share with wherever I take workshops. Fundamentally, let's try and understand what are the top 5 reasons why startups succeed, right? And I think I have a beautiful video of 6 minutes. I think that will start making us thinking in the direction that we are actually always looking for, right? So let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
I'm really excited to share with you some findings that really surprised me about what makes companies succeed the most. What factors actually matter the most for startup success? I believe that the startup organization is one of the greatest forms to make the world a better place. If you take a group of people with the right equity incentives and organize them in a startup, you can unlock human potential in a way never before possible. You get them to achieve unbelievable things. But if the startup organization is so great, why do so many fail? That's what I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out what actually matters most for startup success. And I wanted to try to be systematic about it, avoid some of my instincts and maybe misperceptions I have from so many companies I've seen over the years. I wanted to know this because I've been starting businesses since I was 12 years old, when I sold candy at the bus stop in junior high school, to high school when I made solar energy devices, to college when I made loudspeakers. When I graduated from college, started software companies. And 20 years ago, I started Idealab. And in the last 20 years, we started more than 100 companies, many successes and many big failures. We learned a lot from those failures. So I tried to look across what factors accounted the most for company success and failure. So I looked at these 5. First, the idea. I used to think that the idea was everything. I named my company Idealab and how much I worship the aha moment when you first come up with the idea. But then over time, I came to think that maybe the team, the execution, adaptability, that mattered even more than the idea. I never thought I'd be quoting boxer Mike Tyson on the TED stage, but he once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think that's so true about business as well. So much about a team's execution is its ability to adapt to getting punched in the face by the customer. The customer is the true reality. And that's why I came to think that the team maybe was the most important thing. Then I started looking at the business model. Does the company have a very clear path generating customer revenues? That started rising to the top in my thinking about maybe what mattered most for success. Then I looked at the funding. Sometimes companies received intense amount of funding. Maybe that's the most important thing. And then of course the timing. Is the idea way too early and the world's not ready for it? Is it early, meaning you're in advance and you have to educate the world? Is it just right, or is it too late and there's already too many competitors? So I tried to look very carefully at these 5 factors across many companies. And I looked across all 100 Idealab companies and 100 non-Idealab companies to try and come up with something scientific about it. So first, on these Idealab companies, the top 5 companies, CitySearch, Cars Direct, GoTo, NetZero, Tickets.com, those all became million-dollar successes. And the 5 companies on the bottom, Z.com, Insider Pages, MyLife, Desktop Factory, PeopleLink, we all had high hopes for, but didn't succeed. So I tried to rank across all of those attributes how I felt those companies scored on each of those dimensions. And then for non-Idealab companies, I looked at wild successes like Airbnb and Instagram and Uber and YouTube and LinkedIn, and some failures, Webvan, Cosmo, Pets.com, Flues, and Friendster. The bottom companies had intense funding. They even had business models in some cases, but they didn't succeed. I tried to look at what factors actually counted the most for success and failure across all these companies, and the results really surprised me. The number one thing was timing. Timing accounted for 42% of the difference between success and failure. Team and execution came in second, and the idea, the differentiability of the idea, the unique idea, that actually came in third. Now, this isn't absolutely definitive. It's not to say that the idea isn't important, but it very much surprised me that the idea wasn't the most important thing. Sometimes it mattered more when it was actually timed. The last 2, business model and funding, made sense to me, actually. I think business model makes sense to be that low because you can start out without a business model and then add one later if your customers are demanding what you're creating. And funding, I think as well. If you're underfunded at first, but you're gaining traction, especially in today's age, it's very, very easy to get intense funding. So now let me give you some specific examples about each of these. So take a wild success like Airbnb, everybody knows about. Well, that company was famously passed on by many smart investors because people thought, no one's going to rent out a space in their home to a stranger.
Hello, sir.
People
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. So actually, there's some connection problem in the internet. So if you could stop the video for some time, and we can resume.
Okay. Okay. Now is it fine? Now my voice is fine.
So actually, the main video, I mean the main screen where we are projecting your video, that has been paused. So we are trying to make adjustment in that.
Okay, no worries. So what I will do is maybe I will share the link of the video and then you can later share. So once the projector is fine, I'll start with my presentation that I have. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, let me know when we can resume.
उधर तक भी आ जाएगी जितने में उधर तक आ जाएगी।
रिकॉर्डिंग किधर है?
रिकॉर्डिंग ऑनलाइन स्टार्ट करा
स्टार्टेड लिखा है।
Stop recording. Start.
ये काउंट लगाओ।
मैं पहले बोल देता हूँ फिर चालू करना बोलता हूँ। सुन ना, मैं पहले बोल देता हूँ। So you can begin now, sir. You have connected the session.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so the video that we shared, unfortunately couldn't hear it, but the biggest learning that I wanted to share from that video was the topmost reason why startups or entrepreneurs do good, or for that matter, is number one is the timing, number two is team, number one is timing, number two is team, number three is the idea itself, number four is business model, and number five is funding. And most of the times, we think that, okay, without funding it will be difficult for me to build an idea, or without funding I cannot become an entrepreneur. That's not the case. What we have to focus at this stage is how we can how we are aware in terms of what is the need in the market, that is the timing, and most importantly the initial people that we take support from, be it your friends, family, or people who would want to work and equally contribute along with you for that particular idea. That is team. So timing and team is where it begins. Then the, of course, idea, because as an entrepreneur, as an early stage startup, you might shift or you might make a lot of changes in the idea. Okay, but once the right team is there, once you understand there is a trend, it will really help. And the fourth one is the model, right? Fourth one is the business model. Okay, because model today can be a similar to what the model that Amazon or a Netflix has, the subscription based model. Okay, or it could be you buy something and you pay upfront, the simple trading model. So model can be determined later. And then funding, right? If your idea is right, if you're able to attract, or if you're able to work with initial customers, right, then people, or for that matter investors, are there to support you. Okay, so let's make it fundamentally very clear that timing and team is something that we have to focus at this stage, right? But just wanted to share that video because there are a lot of questions that we have in our mind, right? As you know, I always share this in my workshops, that today's session or today's interaction, I were to say, is more about getting the basics right. For example, today we speak in Hindi or a English or a Marathi, right? The fundamentals, so the entire language is based on the 26 letters, right? 26 letters is what it takes to create meaning in the way we want to, or the way the world communicates. Imagine, or for that matter, there are few alphabets that makes it easy for us. So from that particular insight, I just wanted to share, okay, these are the top 5 things. Let's cut the music, let's separate the music from the noise and focus on that. So now let's understand what is more important for us to think about, to become an entrepreneur, to think it as if we are thinking entrepreneurship and as a career opportunity. Then what are the few things we have to start focusing right away? Okay, and once we discuss this, I have a data which is very important for us to understand, that proves whatever we are going to discuss. So let me quickly share the screen once again. Okay. So what what does success mean to us, right? For some of us it could be money, for some of us it could be fame, for some of us it could be relationship, right? And that's the fundamental reality, right? Like uh, for us, this is what we look for, right? be it uh, be it any human being on this planet, right? Sense of belongingness, in terms of how we are looked upon or how our peer looks at us. Safe and secure life, it's more to do with the financial security, and happy and joyful rise. Like, we want to really live in the moment. That is what, we always want to. That's the goal. But the fundamental reality why that needs to be the goal, right? It is something that can happen in course of life, but this is very important. If you're thinking to become an entrepreneur, right, then you are not only responsible for your own parameters of success, but you are also responsible for people who are going to work with you, people who are going to share similar journey with you, people are going to see the problem that you are seeing, right? So you have to be aware at this stage that, as an entrepreneur, you might be leading teams tomorrow, team size of say 1, 10, 15, or for that matter a team of 5. So you have to first start thinking in your own sense, what is it, right? This is the primary outcome for our existence, right? So I've written here what are the biggest skills of 2020, because things have changed from 2020. Post pandemic, a lot of things have changed. The lot of businesses have changed. Nowadays, the businesses would want to be pandemic proof, isn't it? No one would want to have at least pandemic happening in the next 100, 200, 300 years, right? That was a fear of the unknown that we were exposed to. So today, if we ask anyone what are the biggest skills of 2020, 2021, 2022, it could be, say, artificial intelligence, machine learning. It could be a very specific technical skill, maybe in your domain, or it could be, uh, you know, as I mentioned, cyber security. Of course, these are technical advances that are bound to happen, and that will happen, right? But gradually, if we are thinking about entrepreneurship, right, with what is it that is really going to help us are these three, and we will discuss towards the end with the data point that proves that, okay, these are the skills. Of course, what happened during the pandemic, the initial 1 month or 2 months, it actually tested us, right? It tested our patience, and as an entrepreneur, we have to we have to work on that. There is no choice. There is no replacement for a patience or being persistence. There is no replacement, right? An approach, as we discussed, see, entrepreneurship is a marathon. It is not like you start something and then you are not happy or you are bored and then you don't work on it. You might pivot, okay? And let me make it very clear, it is true that not all of us may want to become entrepreneurs. It is completely true, and no one can force us to become entrepreneurs, right? But the way the world is moving forward, the entrepreneurial mindset is very important. Because even if you tomorrow work with any hospital or you work with any organization, any corporate for that matter, after you grow, once the initial learning is done, you are expected to lead positions. You are expected to lead a team. You are expected to work and bring in a new dynamics, a new perspective, right? And that is where the entrepreneurial mindset will is important. And that is where our own attitude, our own mindset, and our own approach of looking at life and situations will help. You know, if you see in the last decade or so, uh, a lot of entrepreneurs that we even saw during Shark Tank, right? Uh, be it the founder of Bharat Pay or the founder of Lenskart, right? One common skill that all entrepreneurs have is the ability to, or for that matter, understanding the customers, right? Understanding your potential customers, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are going to put money in their pocket and give it to you, right? So understanding them will only happen if we have the right kind of an approach towards them, if we have a mindset we are listening to them, and if we have if we have the right attitude to take whatever positive negative feedback that is being shared, and that goes across whatever domain that we do. But as an entrepreneur, it becomes even more important. So at this stage of, we are, right, what we have today is our own strength. What we have today is our own strength. It is very important, if we see entrepreneurship as a career opportunity, to understand our own strength. If we understand our own strength, it will be very easy for us to get people on board, work with us, work with our team who have complementary strengths. And again, this goes again to some people who would want to, work for a startup, build a startup, or work with a corporate. There also, if we understand our strengths, it becomes very easy to collaborate, because after a point in time, once the technical aspects are sorted in any organization, even in your startup, right, it is your ability to manage the team, your ability to understand the processes, and your ability to get the right person on board will completely depend on your own understanding of your strength. So that is very critical. And most importantly, network. There are like about 80 100 people out here, or there is a big campus, there is an alumni, right? And we all know that all the colleges, wherever they are, right, all their alumni are uh, or students are placed in some organizations that are famous. So we have to network with all of them, and the internal networking amongst ourselves is also very important. It is important to talk beyond, of course it is important to talk about your subject matter. It is important to discuss politics, Bollywood, cricket, that is fine. But it is even more important to understand each other's professional aspirations. That is where you will try to find out, who can contribute to whatever idea or whatever thing that is, that you want to implement. Then it is also important to be specific, right? See, we are surrounded by information. What do you call? There's an, I can use the term overexposed to a lot of information through our cell phones, through our laptops, through the digital world, right? Which has already taken a lot of focus away from us. But if you understand, or if you feel there is a need gap, or there is a demand supply gap, then try to be specific and try to focus on just one or two ideas. Okay, just one or two ideas. We might have 3 4 5 ideas that we want to implement, but let's begin with one or two, be specific, and from there build on that. What happens is, in a market scenario, as we want to become an entrepreneur, or we want to plan a startup, right, there is already a lot of competition for everything. And healthy competition is good. But one thing that what I have learned from coming from a startup space is that collaboration, or a collaborative attitude, is really going to help. A lot of startups today, a lot of entrepreneurs are collaborating with each other, be it exchange of skill sets, exchange of course, time versus money, exchange of social capital, that is network, but that is fundamental. Second is being, choosing respond over react. Right? Reaction is something which is very quick. If we are kind of going out there, interacting with our potential customers to understand the need of the product, if they say the product is not good or the product is not nice, we may react, we may not like it. But the thing is, let's respond. Let's try and understand what is it that the person or the potential customer has not liked. Is there is any technical or a communication flaw? That is what we have to start thinking in that direction. And then when things don't go right, then when things go wrong, we always blame people or we always blame customers, isn't it? Separate problem versus people. That is very important. It can never be a person's fault. We have to understand what makes it or why there is a particular fault that exists, right? So this particular shift is very important at this stage itself, because what happens is most of the times we have an idea, we put the money, we kind of we I'm sorry to use the word, but we are obsessed with our idea, but we have to be obsessed with the customers, right? So that is where we have to kind of start differentiating. Maybe that's why it is important to first focus on the timing, then the team, then the idea, then the model, and then of course the funding and the last thing. And these are the few key shifts that we have to make at this stage itself, so that the fundamentals are very clear. That helps us in the next step that we take in our entrepreneurial journey, or for that matter anything else. Again, from a mindset point of view, right, it is very important to become a team player. At the end of the day, we are working with teams. Either you're working with your own team, you're working with your client's team, you're working with the investors team. There's always people around, everyone. You have to stop thinking कि मुझे क्या फायदा होगा versus what is the value that I can create. Why a company like a Uber and Ola or a Swiggy or a Zomato? I'm not saying they are profitable yet, but they are very much used with a lot of folks out here. Is because they have built something that is creating value, right? So that is how we have to think. Even the all the platforms such as 1mg or NetMads or Practo, they all have built something that is creating value, right? That's how we have to start thinking. Usually, when we start thinking of becoming an entrepreneur or we like the idea, it is more about my point of view, and it is more and here is something that is a very big shift, as I discussed a few minutes ago, that once we understand our potential customers' perspective, that will actually help us create the right product or a service that we have to offer. And most importantly, being inclusive. See, at the end of the day, however, even in whatever profession you are, be it the doctor or lawyers, or for that matter, any other profession that requires us to be, to function intellectually at the best phase, right? But we are social animals at the end of the day, right? The more we become inclusive, the better healthy environment we create for people who work with us, right? And it is very important as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you would be having people who would be working along with you, maybe with not a higher salary or not a higher, so they are working with you on a goal that maybe you have seen. So if you become inclusive, and if the communication or the atmosphere we create healthy, that is really going to help us. And this is important at this stage, because whatever we are discussing today, it may or may not be discussed sooner, or it may not come up, but we are at a stage where we are absorbing some certain insights, and whatever I am sharing here is the last 8 years that I've spent with startups. This is where the fundamental begins. This is where when we discuss with all the startup founders here, okay, what is the biggest mistake that they have done, is something that I'm trying to articulate and put it. Most importantly, the approach. Today, the way we are moving forward, we think, and like it's natural. There is nothing wrong in thinking short term, but long term is never out of fashion. So if we are taking up an entrepreneur and we are wanting it to become as a career, then we have to think from a horizon of 5 to 7 years. It can never be a year or a two. That's how we have to. And even if for whatever reason, right, I understand few of us may have financial concerns, few may have to pay bank loans. Even in that scenario, it's okay if you work, but you give some time out to build whatever business or the idea that you want to work on, but you have to work on it long term. Okay, you have to work on it long term. That is really going to help. Vertical and horizontal experiences. Now, of course, in our but today through this session, you're getting a horizontal experience, right? Something which is not directly part of your curriculum, but something that can possibly change your perception or help you evolve, right? So this is, of course, a fantastic initiative by the institute, right? But there are a lot of platforms, there are a lot of networking events, there are a lot of other things that are happening. You have to also participate there. You have to meet out people who from the industry that you may not know, right? That's how your vertical experiences will help you as you grow along. And first and most important thing, nothing goes for a waste. Okay, so we have a lot of learnings from our life that we can use it, or learnings from the past that we have, things that have worked for us and which have not worked for us. So we can always look back and see and use it to build our strength. Because remember one thing, till the time the product or service is out, right, you are the one who is actually building the business. You are the one, your thought process, your mindset, your understanding is really going to build the business. Business is the outcome of the efforts that we take at the stage where we are trying to articulate, and we're trying to create something for the customer. So that's how it is. So there are a few questions that we have to ask if we are thinking about taking up entrepreneurship, or if we want to build this mindset, right? So can we see problems as opportunities, or can we enhance our ability to see problems as opportunities? Very important. Okay. If we just complain, we are not going to solve. We have to start seeing problems as opportunities. That's the biggest learning, or that's a very important area that we have to think to develop the entrepreneurial mindset. Can we enhance our ability to see the reality as it is? It is very important for us to, if a particular situation or if a particular thing is working or not working, we have to constantly ask ourselves and see the reality as it is. Most of the times our reality is clouded by our thoughts and emotions. And if you have seen a few of us who have seen Shark Tank, or if you just hear a few entrepreneurs, all the one thing that is common between all the role models that we might have, everyone has we like someone's possibly professional success or personal success. it is their ability to see the reality. Yeah. Today, Rakesh Junjunwala sees a reality in stock market in a very different way. Or Ratan Tata sees a reality in his industry in a very specific way, right? Or Ashleen Grover, founder of Bharatway, sees the reality in a very particular way, right? So this is how it helps us. If we see the reality as it is not only going to help us become a better entrepreneur, but it will help us become a better individual as well. And finally, can we do whatever it takes? This is something that we have to ask. Because once you understand and once you narrow down on few things that you want to build, you want to work on, then you just have to work towards it and do whatever it takes to build it. So first few things, if you want to check and see whatever idea that you have, okay, and even if you're stage, if you don't have an idea but you're thinking of something, you have to talk to at least 50 people on the possible solution that you are wanting to create. You have to talk to at least 50 people on the possible solution that you're trying to create. That is really going to help. Then we have to be aware of the assumption syndrome. There are a lot of things that we assume, and once you talk to people, talk to your potential customers, try to interact and articulate your idea, a lot of doubts will get cleared. So this is something that we have to be aware of. And then at the end of the day, it is what people or customers are looking for. That has to be, that is very important. So at this stage, if fortunately we are recovering from pandemic, we have already doing well. But if you know of someone in your friends and family, the best way to is help put your ideas across. Put your ideas, if they are willing to listen, put your ideas, share your thoughts, let's help a local business who we know in our network. Or if your friend or anyone is starting a business, try and give your suggestions. That's how you actively brainstorm on the ideas, because an idea in the mind is as good as zero idea, right? It has to come out. And as I mentioned, you have to, in say for example, even in your domain, right? Even in your domain, if you want to build something that has a technology angle to it, then you have to start networking with people. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform. LinkedIn, you can just create your account, or there are various portals, but you have to start networking. Okay? Information management, again, I would share, if you have zeroed down, or this is where you have to choose your battle wisely. There is a lot of information, there is a lot of content out there, but you have to be at least start reading or start consuming content that is relevant or is aligned with the solution or the idea that you are building. So we discussed all of these angles, right? We discussed a lot on the mindset, attitude, or the approach, right? Now let's see why did we discuss that, okay? Now let's spend some time understanding why startups fail, or what are the top 20 reasons why startups fail, okay? Now let's take out the first point, that is no market need, okay? If you see point number 3, that is not the right team, getting out competed, ignoring customers, product mistime. No market need is like heard them. So this is something that we discussed, right? Lose focus. This is sad. If startups are failing because they are losing focus, something as from a human perspective needs to be addressed. Disharmony among team and investors. Again, this shows the insecurity. Again, it again shows that. Not the right team again shows that we have not focused on our strengths. Getting out competed, that means we have not understood what people are, what our, not focused on building the right product. And if you see, didn't use network, there is a point, didn't use network, burnout as in, like, feeling stressed about whether this will work or not. So out of 20 reasons, there are only 2 or 3 reasons that are technical, which sometimes even we don't have control on. But rest of it, we definitely have control, right? Of course, in the series of sessions that are planned, you're going to learn about what it takes to build a minimum viable product. What is it, that you have to focus on in terms of the technicalities. Of course, that is going to come. But when I made this presentation, I just made this presentation from this slide because this is what can be easily avoided. And this is very important in this stage of our startup journey to be aware. One thing that we always share with our startups here is that please commit new mistakes. Please don't commit same mistakes. Right? New mistakes are healthy. Same mistakes can be avoided. And there are 2 ways of learning, isn't it? एक fail होके हम सीखते हैं, एक दूसरों के failure से सीखते हैं या experience से सीखते हैं, right? So let's kind of build a mindset or build a approach, where we take ownership of our own self and can easily avoid a lot of information or data that is mentioned here. Because point number 2, ran out of cash. Now that can be sorted if the product or idea is good, if there is an acceptance in the market, ran out of cash can be solved, right? So at this stage, why it is important also for us to take up entrepreneurship, right? See, let's be very, as towards the beginning of my presentation, right? We have to become job creators. We all know what the stage of unemployment is in our nation, right? We have to think like an entrepreneur anyways, right? To create economic and social impact, of course. And already there are a million of business problem statements exist, Okay, this is something very important. See, it's not always that we have to come up with a new idea or a very new innovative product or an innovative solution. It's absolutely not necessary. There are already so many problems that I'm sure you would have seen in your growing years, or we see still exist. If you really feel for it, if you really understand, and if you want to build on that, you can always work on that as well. So one question that will always come is it the right time? Is it whether it's worth giving a try? Yes, of course. Even during COVID, things happened. No, we all survived, right? We all went through, right? So one thing we have to it's very clear that we are the most privileged generation of all times. We have everything in place. Trust me, we have all the things in place to kind of make things happen. Everything can be arranged. And if you start working on your product or an idea, it will actually make you a better problem solver, because then you're constantly in that zone where you're trying to solve for things, and eventually it will make you an efficient leader. And there's a reason why I've written efficient leader and not effective, because effectiveness can change. Efficiency is something that will be expected any which ways. So now the session is open for Q&A. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity to share the thoughts and I hope this will create value, because I personally believe in value creation. So thank you so much for listening, and over to ma'am and sir for Q&A if there's anything. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for a very informative session. We'll take up the questions. The first question for you is what will be your guide for the students who are currently in the degree program and want to do a startup or a idea they have and want to work upon it?
Okay, so if you are at your stage, if you are, so just go out and execute it. It is more important. Whatever idea that you have, just execute it. Whatever you have in your mind, just start working towards it, right? But there are a lot of, if you want to connect with a lot of support system provided for the startups. For example, there are incubators, there are accelerators, right? So there are, so what can be done is, on www.startup.gov.in, there are a lot of incubators based on your domain. So you can start connecting with all the ecosystem enabling organizations. Okay, that is where you can start. If you have an idea, okay, if you have an idea, then there are a lot of programs. There are a lot of programs which I will share the link with the professors, that professors can share with you. You can start reading it, trying to fine tune your idea, right? So that's how it will begin. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
So, if a dentist wishes to be an entrepreneur, what is your advice for them?
So dentists are becoming entrepreneurs. Dentists are entrepreneurs, actually, right? So I'll tell you one very good example. I am part of this group called as Indian Business Group. That is a chamber of commerce. You know, every uh, every month there is a catch up that happens, and they exchange their business cards. So if you see, it's at the, see, there is a value, right? As a dentist, we are creating value, because it's a skill, it's a value based skill, right? I would personally appreciate, and there is the demand for dentists is only going to grow. It is only going to grow. And I'll be very candid here and very honest, right? We all know what we are eating, right? Or we all know what the world is eating, right? There are going to be problems, right? So we would highly encourage a lot of dentists to identify locations, places where where people are not getting treated well. You can, the value can be created. So the challenge is that sometimes we feel that we have to say work with any hospital to kind of get our skills honed. So I do understand that. But if someone who naturally knows that you can start, I have many friends who have started. So I don't think we have to wait. And I think let's also see what happens in the other side of the world, right? There would be a lot of dentists maybe in the countries, be it the Canada or UK, they also start practicing, isn't it? So if there is any challenge in terms of how how the modeling, or how how the entire model or framework will come in terms of business, then we can always discuss. If you have any students who wants to start something of their own, happy to interact with them one on one and try to understand what are their challenges. But eventually you see a lot of dentists or several other professions, after a point they do start. So I don't think you should have that block in the mind. Yep.
Thank you, sir. My question is, how can we optimize?
How can?
How can we optimize our business? 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 How can we opt Optimize the marketing with list funds.
Sir, she wants to ask how can you optimize the business by with list funding?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and let me share one thing today. Uh, See today, be it whatever we are pursuing today, right? We have, of course, education is our fundamental right, and our parents, brothers, sisters are trying their best to to help us become doctors or in doctors, engineers. Okay, right? So there is an investment that is already happening at the moment, right? So the current investment, be it students who are pursuing whatever professions, right, be it the doctorate or engineering, right, the investment is happening, right, but with a trust and hope that things will work, isn't it? So you have to put that same leap of faith while you start something of your own. Okay, and when we talk about least funding, right, least funding, it's a very, first of all, I like the thought process. You're already thinking about optimization, right? So let's write down what are the top expenses that will happen without which it will not work, right? So let's make a list of expense, right? Then let's see what is the resource available. So if someone, for example, someone really wants to start practicing their own dentistry, right? It's okay not to have a very fancy location, not to have a very fancy board or a fancy, so as dentists, we will be appreciated by our art, right? Our art, that is very important. So let's first focus on that, learning that art, right? See, I'm so sorry, I'm not from a medical field, but I do understand that it's an art, right? Then start interacting with people who come to us, create value for them, create value for them. Let me give you one very, very good example, which I'm sure would be famous even in your domain. Okay, so there was one passionate dentist who wanted to start something of his own, right? And this is a story of Chembur, I think in Mumbai only, right? So the so he had his own shop also. Okay, now what happened is there were 3 4 other dentists as well there. Okay, now he was confused on what he should be doing at that moment, right? So uh, he interacted with few of his management friends and he was discussing. So he said that the way he so I may be, I'm just trying to highlight an example, maybe you would be aware better. Maybe he was really good at smile correction. Okay, putting in a way that it really, the smile comes out really well. Okay, uh, so he started his entire he started taking only people who were looking for smile correction. Okay, so in that moment he had to not take people who were having some other concerns. That's how then he made his own mark. So he started being recognized for one or two things in his domain. So this is one example that was discussed recently. So I just thought of sharing that with you. But again, coming back to the question of how should I save money or the optimize expenses? Just prioritize your expenses. That's it. And once you start the journey, it's like once you take the journey, things will come up. You will find out ways in which you can solve for it. Yep.
Sir, how much company should we liquidate initially to raise the funds?
So it depends, right? Now, if if you are a startup, right? If you're a startup and you want to you have an idea and you want to raise funding just on the basis of idea. Okay, so at that stage, who are the ones who are going to put money? It would be either friends or family, isn't it? At the initial stage, let's be very practical. At the initial stage of your business, when we talk about liquidating the equity or anything, at the ideation stage, it is the friends and family. If your friend comes in and puts in money into your idea, then it could be anywhere between 20% and 50%, because you are not putting your money. Okay. Second part, practically, if you are not putting your money, don't expect an investor to come and put in their money. With the last example that I shared, even to pursue our own studies, we are self-funding at this stage for 3, 4, 5 years, correct? So even to build your startup, you have to self-fund it for some time. If you self-fund it, it becomes easy for you to later go back and build that confidence and trust that you have not only given your time in building it, but you have also given money to build your startup. Correct? These are the two important areas which an external investor will also look: time and money, right? But if you're building a business which already has a set customer, which already you have already gained 1 or 2 customers, 1 or 2, 3 customers, and then you want someone to come on board with a technical expertise, or if you want someone to come on board so that you raise fund for growth capital, then it could be somewhere between 10% and 20%, right? But fundamentally, let's be very clear, at this stage, you may not be actually liquidating anything. You have to focus on building. Money is not going to come like that. Money will come once you create value. That
Thank you, sir. I wanted to ask another question. I wanted to know, how do you know if you're cut out to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. And the funny part of this question is no one else is going to tell you you have it or not. You only know it, you know. Okay. So if you are someone, so there is no standard answer to this question, but it's like there's something that drives you, right? There's something that have motivated you to take up your profession, or there's something that motivates you to take certain decisions that you really want to take, right? It could be anything. It could be watching a movie, or buying that particular watch or a cloth, right? Anything. But it is very, very important whether you are seeing problems as opportunities, or you are really feel for that particular problem. Okay. Now, for example, let me give you one very good example. Redbus. Redbus is a portal used for bus bookings, isn't it? The founder, how it was founded, Redbus or Abhibus. Okay. A founder was wanting to travel from, say, Bangalore to Hyderabad. Okay. And it was Christmas, or it was, I don't know, New Year. He was unable to reach his hometown. He really got like angry, we have to put it that way. Okay. He was like, there is this issue needs to be addressed. So he was so obsessed with the problem of or he was so obsessed that things are not working. He started building it. He started trying to fill the demand supply gap. Right. So that is one thing, that if you really believe in something that is not happening right, if you see a lot of social entrepreneurs, that they really are focused on a particular cause and a particular purpose. So that has a lot to do with the way you see life. Okay. Life and things. Second is that how risk taker you are. Okay. If you naturally take certain risks, then you should go. Okay. So this is something, there is no set rule or something, but it has to come from within. No one can motivate you to become entrepreneur for sure. I can guarantee you that you have to have that confidence. And you know what, our entire life experiences, our social circle has a lot of role to play in building that confidence or building that approach, right? And it's okay. and it's okay. Even at this stage, we do not feel like taking up an entrepreneurial journey, but there is an intent. There is an intent to take an entrepreneurial journey. Then start reading and start consuming content, or start watching a lot of video content or books that are close to or aligned to the business idea that you are having. Okay, and eventually you will find, because I am assuming a lot of students out here are under 25, under 23, and it's okay if you're under 23 or under 25 or under 21, if you don't know whether you want to become or not. But if you are hungry enough to solve for something, that's where the journey begins. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. My question for you is, how does being an entrepreneur affect your personal life?
No one can affect your personal life. No one can affect your personal life unless and until you want to. Remember that. Today, you are studying for like 8 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours for your this thing, right? And there are people who study for 2, 3 hours or 4 hours and kind of, they get their study sorted. That is very important. Even we discuss, no? If something goes wrong, we blame people. But your mind and your this thing is in your control. Very simple, right? Yes, I understand. As an entrepreneur, your initial 1-2 years, you may have to stretch a bit more. It's not a 5 to 8 hours job. Someday you will have to work for 12 hours a day, right? How do you prioritize your time? That is very important. How do you strike a balance is very important. It doesn't affect you. See, I understand there are so many people who are in various fields. There are people who are actors. There are people who are in army, right? People who are serving the nation, who are in army. If you ask me, is their family not affected by if they are not present? The answer is yes. Of course, their family is affected, right? So as an entrepreneur, yes, things will get affected. But the point is, are we focusing more on striking a right balance? Is what we have to think at. And are we not wasting time? Very important. Thinking like an entrepreneur and feeling like an entrepreneur is very different. Many people get a kick out of writing founder of this XYZ. If you are in that path, if we are trying to fool ourselves, then it is going to affect you. If you are in a path where you are really focused on creating value for customers, people will work with you. Okay, so let's be very clear in terms of our understanding of what affects and not, and we are well aware. See, very simple. Smoking affects, smoking affects. It has its own disadvantages, but still people are free to smoke. So it's just like, it's up to us, right? Whether we want to get affected or not. It's completely our perspective. Yep.
Thank you, sir, for an enlightening lecture. I'm sure the students here have at least got a direction to start the entrepreneurship idea.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to see, so for me, it's very rare opportunity to interact with medical professionals or interact with, so I'm really happy that your college has taken this effort to plan such workshops, because most of the workshops that I take are happening in management colleges or engineering colleges. So, hats off to the management for planning this initiative. Really, really happy. And I know it's just a shift of a perspective. I know there is a lot of potential in in the field of your domain to become entrepreneurs, and we cannot deny that. And dentistry or any other, like, it's there. You can do it. So this is what I would say. And if anyone would want to connect with me or want to discuss their entrepreneurial aspirations, feel free to connect. We can always connect on LinkedIn. Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you, and I hope we also get the permission to visit your incubation center soon with
Yes,
all our
yes.
first year graduates, so
Of
that they
course.
also have an idea exactly on how to go ahead about research innovation.
Of course.
So for your kind gesture, we would like to felicitate you with a appreciation certificate, which we will send you through the mail soon. But then we are just showing it on the screen for you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yep. So, ma'am, if it's okay if I log off, it's okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Bye, bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Thank you. Bye, bye. Lovely interacting with everyone. Bye, bye. Yep.
Thank you.